Hi, I'm Ruchika from CleverTap, and today at Empathy at Scale, we have Ankit with us, who's the CEO of Dineout. Hi, Ankit.
Hi Ruchika, how are you? Thanks for having me over.
Thank you so much for taking out for this initiative.
Great. No, of course, it's my pleasure to be here.
Ankit, though we all understand it's a tough time for everyone. Corona is spreading and everyone is scared about it. People are finding it hard to make ends meet. And while at this time, businesses like Dine Out are running initiatives like Project Thali. We are really proud for that initiative and we would love to know more about it.
Of course, thanks a lot, Ruchika. We're trying to do our best during these times to sort of help the people, help whoever we can. So actually, Project Thali was sort of a different initiative, a twist to the normal sort of initiative that has been happening. What we realized is, when we were entering the lockdown, at that point in time, a lot of our restaurant partners started reaching out to us saying that they had their staff stuck from different sort of basically migrant workers who were stuck in their respective cities across the country. And the staff, unfortunately, after a few days, did not have their area was not receiving enough food or etc. And the restaurant partners were trying to feed them by themselves to us up to a certain point. But in the long run, it was becoming a bit difficult. So that's how the seed of the project Thali was started. And what we realized is that by that time there were already a lot of initiatives that were already asking people for money. So we did not want to be just another sort of an initiative that was asking people to donate money. We figured out how can we do something different about it, and hence we started Project Thali. So the Project Thali has three different legs to it. The first leg is that obviously we're asking people to donate money wherever they can, whenever they can, but also additionally we're asking people to donate any staples or any food as well, material, raw materials as well, ingredients as well, which they would have lying over, or if people do not want to give in money, they can give in this. And till date, we've received over 1 lakh kgs of food, which has been able to be prepared into cooked meals by our restaurant partners and then distributed across countries. So as of now, we've distributed food to over 5,200 postcodes in India. To put that in perspective, there are 20,000 postcodes in India. So nearly 25% of the country we've been able to distribute food. And we've been able to do this because we're working with thousands of restaurants across the country. And whenever we get to know that someone is stuck in a certain area and there are families there, we reach out to the nearest restaurant which is there and we get them to cook food. However, it's not just enough to cook food. Obviously, we need people to deliver as well. And hence, volunteers is the third aspect. So people can volunteer their time as well, who want to contribute. And from that perspective, we've also tied up with an NGO called the World Health Group, who's a partner in this. And they are taking care of the last mile logistics of it, arranging for passes, speaking to ministers or the officers to ensure that the food gets to the right people in the right area. And what also one more thing that we've done in this is, as we realize that this is happening, we start getting calls from all over, because obviously people who are stuck in cities have families who are stuck in different parts of the country. So they started reaching out to us, and we realized that it's a massive problem that India is facing right now. So we actually started a food helpline as well, where anyone who's stuck in a particular area can actually call that helpline, and we endeavor to ensure that they receive food in the next 24 hours through this network of ours. So this entire thing collectively is known as Project Thali.
You guys are doing brilliant work. Like seriously, I didn't know the entire depth of this campaign, and
So
but now that you share it, it's brilliant.
no, so till date, it's a touch wood, it's going well. Till date, we've fed approximately 5 lakh people, and the idea is to continue doing this till we can. Yeah.
That's amazing. So started from restaurant workers, and now it's reached common men. Like
Yeah.
great.
Absolutely.
So Ankit, if you can tell me from your perspective, how would you state the overall impact this situation has caused on dining industry as a whole?
I think while every business has been hit, obviously, I think the restaurant industry has been completely decimated as of now. The entire industry is completely at a standstill. Nearly 95% of the industry is at a standstill. Worse, obviously, is the impact of it, right? So because of this, so the restaurant industry, or specifically F&B industry, has approximately 7.3 million workers. It's the single largest employer of of people in India. And what we are estimating, as this is going on and on, the impact not just on capital, but the cost of human capital is going to be absolutely huge. Um, for example, just to give you an idea, nearly 30 to 35% of people will lose their jobs by the end of this. So that's nearly 2.5, 3 million people who are going to, just specifically from the restaurant industry, are going to be unemployed. We estimate that nearly 30% of the restaurants will probably not open, which, the restaurant will shut down on 22nd March, will not open. Nearly 30% of that. The dollar value of the, or rupee value of this loss could amount to approximately 1 lakh crore. So it's absolutely massive. And even when this is over, obviously, restaurants is a place which thrives on social gathering, and there are going to be, so people are not going to be comfortable dining out immediately. So the impact, obviously, on this is huge. However, what we are now planning with the restaurant industry is obviously to give confidence back to the consumer as and when restaurants open, that it's going to be safe to eat out. We've launched a new program called contactless dining for our consumers and for our restaurant partners, where we are trying to reduce the contact, the touch points inside the restaurants as much as possible from a consumer's perspective. So it includes things like, so for example, arrive at a restaurant, you give your card valet. Instead of getting a receipt back, you will get an SMS notification. So you can check in your card digitally. There'll be digital menus. You can pay your bill digitally. You don't have to wait in queues or outside the restaurant. You can reserve your table on before, and you can just go directly to your table. So there are a lot of initiatives that we are planning for along with the restaurant industry, to ensure that we are able to give confidence back to the consumers. However, we believe it's still, obviously, people will not want to risk it out immediately. Again, that's a very wrong way to say no contact dining, because obviously, food still has to be prepared by people. It has still to be served by people. However, we're trying to reduce risk wherever there is. So for example, inside a restaurant, menus are the worst possible carriers of germs, right? They change hands so many times. So we want to eliminate menus, and we want to basically sort of, digital menus is going to be very big going forward. Similarly, digital payments are going to happen. So we're trying to see what are the operations inside a restaurant that can be digitized with the help of technology, and then that's what we are going to be focusing upon. Another major pain point for consumers is obviously what's happening inside the kitchen. How are people sort of treating, looking at preparing their food, handling their food? So till now, people could not see that. So we're working with a lot of partners to put in cameras where feed is available to consumers, to see, to show them that the food is also being handled in a very safe and hygienic manner. So what I'm trying to say is that overall, the industry is going to go through a 360-degree overhaul, which where the focus on safety and hygiene is going to be of utmost sort of importance going forward.
Absolutely. And if I may ask, by when will this initiative be out and rolling?
So see, from a product perspective, we've with Indresto, which is our B2B product suite, we already have the products ready. We've already started rolling it out to our partner restaurants. I think the endeavor for us is that when the lockdown ends, you know, people, restaurants should be ready, because when we think about the human psychology, obviously, us as people, we're social animals by nature, right? And everyone's been would have been cooped up in their houses for the last sort of 8 to 10 weeks. So people would want to go out. Now, we are not going to be traveling anytime soon. Um, People would not want to watch movies in a packed theater anytime soon. So dining out is the only sort of option left. And if we are able to give confidence back to the consumers that it's safe to dine out, I think people will sort of start, coming out gradually and slowly.
Great. So after this COVID era, after this lockdown, a lot of things are going to change. I
Absolutely.
would want to ask you, what do you think the future of F&B industry looks like? And are there any measures or are there any strategies that you guys are coming up with to ensure that dine out is aligned to that?
Absolutely. So I think that's a great question. I think dining out is not going to be the same as it was. We're seeing the restaurant industry transform itself in front of our eyes, and it's happening very fast and in real time. A few things that are obviously going to be visible right away is that so social distancing inside restaurants is going to be a big thing. So, for example, we're working with restaurants to figure out what's the optimal distance between tables. So, in our what's happening in bases on China and Hong Kong, and after speaking to various ministries, we believe that that distance is 1.5 meters. So right now tables are set apart roughly around half a meter. So tripling the distance between tables. Now that will have the impact of that would be that obviously the capacity of a restaurant reduces. The restaurants have to be a lot would probably have to become a lot more judicious. The second is even with bars and busy places, all places that had standing capacity are now we're putting in tables. So because we don't want people bumping into each other, etc. So all of that is going to reduce the capacity of the restaurants. The menus are going to be transformed completely. So, for example, a typical restaurant menu had around 300 to 400 dishes. Now, as a result of that, the restaurant had to have ingredients which were ready for these 300 to 400 dishes, um, and which was leading to a lot of wastage, etc. So, we believe that menus will shrink in size. They will become a lot more optimized. They will become a lot more specialized. From 400 odd dishes, it will come down to 100 odd dishes because restaurants will now need to prepare, will not want to spend a lot of money on a lot of wastage, etc. Technology is obviously going to, as I explained earlier, is going to take over a lot in the entire running of the restaurant's operations, right from the valet checking in to how you order, how you pay, how you leave a feedback, the kitchen operations inside, inside a restaurant, supply chain. So all of these things are going to be changed forever. And I think the industry is going to bounce back, but it's going to be a while. It's going to obviously take some time. There's going to be a lot of short-term pain, and for consumers as well. For example, pre-COVID, deciding where to go was also largely dependent on what sort of a discount the restaurant is giving. I think discounts are not going to exist in the future anytime soon. It's all going to be about cleanliness, safety, and hygiene. So yeah, from a consumer's perspective as well. The objective is if a restaurateur or a restaurant is able to give confidence back to the consumer that it's safe, hygienic, then they will go to that restaurant, or otherwise they will not.
Hearing you say all this, I can totally imagine how massive it's going to be. Like, as a
Yeah,
consumer, also, I can
absolutely.
totally imagine. So, I won't take more time. Thank you so much for taking out time and sharing all this with us. It was really insightful.
Thanks a lot, Ruchika. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me over. Thanks.
Thank you.